All right, you guys, it's Kenya Posey here, hashtag the agent that cares, located here in Las Vegas and Henderson, Nevada area. I have my new pink mics. They have came in and I got the fuzzy one too, but we're not talking about the mic tonight. We are talking about the required forms our buyers must sign prior to going out to do any showings with the agent. So let's get right into it. So, as most of you may or may not know, and this information is Google, you can Google it as well too. But if you did not know, back in August of 2024, there was some nationwide changes when it comes to buyer brokerage agreements and showings. So, with the National Association settlement, they actually have required nationwide that any real estate agent showing any property to a buyer, the buyer must sign a buyer brokerage representation agreement prior to any showings. We call it a BBRA or a BBA, buyer brokerage agreement. However you want to say it, it is required prior to any showings. So let's get into some other forms that are required here in the state of Nevada, because prior to signing a BBA here in the state of Nevada, you must sign what we call a duties owed, which is what I tell my clients is the agent's rights and responsibility they have to their clients. So let's bring that up really quick here, okay? I want to get you guys right into what we call the duties owed. So right up top, y'all see this information here. It says the duties owed by the Nevada real estate licensee. This form does not constitute a contract for services nor an agreement to pay compensation. In Nevada, a real estate licensee is required to provide a form setting forth the duties owed by the licensee to each party for whom the licensee is acting as an agent in a real estate transaction and each unrepresented party to the real estate agent transaction, if any. So this is some basic information here on top of the form. It's going to be my name, my license number, because again, as a licensee, we have a license number, and that license number comes with codes of ethics and requirements that are required by the National Association of Realtors. We actually have to have certifications we have to complete every single year to keep that license active. And there's certain things you cannot do as a realtor in the state of Nevada or throughout nationwide without possibly getting fined or having your license removed if you do not abide by the regulations to keep your license active. So then the licensee acting for it going to be the client's name information here. Whether you're a buyer or seller, this form is going to be used for buyers and sellers. You have the broker information there, the brokerage name, and then whether you're involved in a transaction with any other agent involved. And typically for somebody like myself, majority of the time, I'm not going to be in a transaction for another agent because I am a solo agent. So that is our duties owed. So let me just go down here to the bottom. So I want you guys to see where it states here. When you sign this as a seller or buyer, there is a date stamp and a time here, because this is the very first form that must be signed by a buyer or a seller before anything else is signed during a transaction. So right now we're talking about buyers. So this is going to be the very first time the buyer must sign here in the state of Nevada, which is called our duties owed. It's going to be signed and date and time stamped, because when they pull your file from compliance and auditing, but they want to make sure that you went over all your duties owed to your clients. Okay, so then let's go back up real quick here. I'm just going to read only a couple because I know you guys are, reading savvy. I know y'all can read yourselves, but I just wanted to read highlights a couple of things here. For the very first thing here, it states that licensee's duties owed to all parties. That means not just your client, but to all parties in the transaction. And that states that a Nevada real estate licensee shall not deal with any party to a real estate transaction in a manner which is deceitful, fraudulent, or dishonest. They also will exercise a reasonable skill and care with respect to all parties when it comes to the real estate transaction. So then let's pop on down here when it's talking about the duties owed to the client. So I'm just going to only read the two of these. So number one, it says exercise reasonable skill and care to carry out the terms of the brokerage agreement and the licensee's duties in the brokerage agreement or property management. I don't do property management, so I will add a BBA agreement information. I will not disclose, except to the licensee's broker, confidential information relating to the client for 1 year after revocation or termination of the brokerage agreement, unless licensee is required to do so by court order or the client gives written permission. That says 1 year, you guys, but guess what? Kenya's going to do? I'm never going to disclose your information because it's nobody else's business. All right? So that is pretty much our duties owed. And like I said, you guys can read this information here. So again, I will go a little more in detail with my clients, but most importantly, this has your signature, your date and time. So again, this has to be signed and date prior to anything else. All right. So let's hop on back out here so I can get up the next form information for you guys. It's going to be the resident disclosure guide. So the residential disclosure guide is going to be for buyers, sellers, and investors. It's a 32-page booklet of all disclosures, whether it pertains to your transaction or not. You're going to get this booklet. It's required. Okay? So that booklet is 32 pages. So let's just bring that booklet up, the residential disclosure guide. Again, it's 32 pages. On the 31st page is going to be a place for your signature. So we're just going to scroll through this again. This is going to be all disclosures, whether it pertains to your transaction or not. You're going to get this nice little booklet. And what I tell my buyers and sellers is, if you're bored and want to do some reading, get into the disclosure guide. Just pull it on out, read some information about the disclosures, because in the transaction, you're going to always get what pertains to your transaction, what has to be disclosed in your transaction. You actually get that information provided to you, but you're actually going to print your name and you're going to sign your name here, and it's going to be dated. All right. So that's going to get signed and dated prior to your BBA most of the time, because in a BBA it states that you have received a copy of the residential disclosure guide. So that's typically going to be the second thing you're going to do. And then next up is going to be that lovely buyer brokerage agreement. And so we have two. Our brokerage actually went a little further. So I actually typically will use my brokerage buyer brokerage agreement, because they went in a little more detailed, more so than what it is under the buyer brokerage representation with the association, the Galvar, that comes on the Galvar. So our agency with Keller Williams actually went a step further, because again, our broker, some other individuals not always are part of the actual forms committee. So they actually wanted a little more detailed about the actual BBA. So we actually went a little step further, because they provided us in a copy of the Code of Ethics Disclosures of Clients, and actually the states right here. On this form here, it states, the recent NAR settlement dated March 15th of 2024 now requires that buyers must have a written agreement with a realtor member prior to the realtor showing any property. We are a realtor company and therefore adhere to the settlement and Code of Ethics of the National Association of Realtors. Now, let's just get into it. Not every licensed real estate agent is a realtor. There are some licensees who are not part of the National Association of Realtors. But those of us have eventually gone the extra step and are following by the extra guidelines to make sure you are protected and that we are educated on the transaction. We're going to step further to make sure we're keeping our status compliant when it comes to the National Association of Realtors and the Code of Ethics. So we have gone a step further here with Keller Williams. We're actually providing you a copy and information on the actual Code of Ethics here. So this is our BBA agreement here. And again, I go in a lot more detail with my clients, and I go over the buyer brokerage consultation. And then here it just talks about you, the buyer, the brokerage information, and it gives you a little more detail if you want to be specific about the actual what you're looking for as far as your range, as far as your price point ranges, a general description of what you're looking for in a home. And on the BBA here actually has a beginning date and an ending date. So let's talk about this beginning date and ending date. Beginning date is going to be now. If you're actually going to buy your consultation, you're actually going to have it signed now. And typically for me, for my buyers, it's going to be anywhere from 6 months to a year. Now, the difference is when I'm actually working with clients, especially when it comes to those who actually are working with programs like NACA, which may take over a year, I go ahead and put that in place for a year. Or for my clients who have credit challenges. And I'm going to get them alongside with my actual credit specialist. I actually do those agreements up to a year as well, too. But typically my BBAs are going to be for 6 months, because sometimes right now it may take a little longer for a buyer to find what they're looking for, or, just to have that coverage. And some buyers may say, hey, I want to look now, stop for a minute and start back up, so our agreement will still be in place. But it's very important, you guys, to know that this agreement is for the duration of those time and those dates. So be cautious on those dates. It's actually on this. And I tell my clients all the time, This can be terminated at any time, whether by myself or by you, by the buyer themselves or the client. Okay? And that actual termination is going to be in writing. And you're going to initial these pages here. Again, it's going to give you a little more in detail. So I want to actually hop on over here to the back page here. This is going to be in detail of what the actual buyer compensation concessions is going to be in consideration of, I'll call it my professional service fees here. What we're going to actually require, that most of the times we're actually going to be getting this negotiated in the contract. And again, we're going to go more in detail about that as well too. But we want to be doing some negotiation. All this is negotiable, okay? All this is negotiable. But one of the things I want to show you is going to be also a statement stating that you're not working with you haven't signed anything else with another agent, okay? So this is talking about termination, that you're not under contract with another agent. Here it is right here. This is talking about mediation. I'm sorry. Let's be scrolling here. I don't want the thing to get locked up on us. All right, so we'll pinpoint it out too with you guys, so that way you'll know that, make sure that the form is stating that you're actually not working for another agent as well too. So this form is, like I said, was more in detail when I'm actually doing my buyer consultation. But I want you guys to actually see those forms, so that way you actually know what is required here in the state of Nevada. So again, the requirement for the state of Nevada is going to be our duty so, which is, again, it's like your agent's rights and responsibilities to you, because you want to make sure you have some skin, the agent has some skin in the game, and has some responsibility to you as their client, okay? And then you have the, like I said, the disclosure form, and then that's where you have your buyer's responsibilities to the agent. At any point in time, I tell my clients this all the time, that this form can be terminated anytime in writing. This state, hey, I'm no longer wanting to look at this time, so I want to terminate my agreement with you, or maybe you're not a good fit for me, Kenya, and that's okay too. So we want to get that in writing so we can actually get you back out with another agent who might be the better fit for you. But most importantly is that you guys understand that these are the requirements. We're not just out here giving you things to sign that we, just making up things, because less paper for me. If I can save a tree, I will save a tree. And most of these forms are going to be given to you electronically. But most importantly is that you guys got to respect the fact that we are business owners and we are licensed, and that we have guidelines that we must abide by when it comes to keeping our license active. So I wanted to just hop out here really quick, because I know it's been a lot of things, a lot of chatter going on, and recently with a lot of buyers, because the market right now is getting hot. So if you guys are out here now, buyers, now is the time to buy before, you start getting in some competition wars. And right now that actually is happening on some properties. But now definitely is the time for you guys, if you're ready in a position to purchase, now is the time to buy. Because listen, I'm negotiating my tail off for you on your behalf as a buyer, making sure that we're getting everything we want from the seller, okay? So we're going to negotiate. We're going to ask for it. We may not get it, but we're going to ask for it, okay? So especially on some properties that, just been sitting on the market for a minute, and we want to see. But some sellers may say, and maybe you got to look at it. Some sellers may be like, you know what? This is my home. This is the amount. This is what I want to go. This is what I want to net. And hey, that's their right too as well. But as your agent, I'm going to make sure I'm representing you to the fullest, okay? So that is a wrap for this tonight. Like I said, I just want to hop out here really quick and go over the requirement forms, what is required here in the state of Nevada, because there's been a lot of questions asked lately. So let's get those questions answered for you. If you got any additional questions, concerns, hit me up. Give me a call, 702-401-8733. Make sure you guys are looking at my latest website. We have decked it out, careaboutrealestate.com. You can also find some of the latest listings there as well, some closed properties there as well. But again, careaboutrealestate.com. You can find me on all social media platforms, Kenya Posey Realtor. You can also start looking at my branding of Care About Real Estate. But I am here to assist you. I am hashtag the agent that cares, covered in Las Vegas and Henderson, Nevada area. Let me know if you're ready to get started, if you got any questions, concerns, because I am here to take care of all of your needs when it comes to real estate. You guys have a blessed and amazing day.